All right, I get asked this question a ton. How do I blind jig for Lakers? I did a video about this about 2 years ago, and absolutely nothing has changed. What I highly suggest is go to benditfish.com and buy the flutter jigs. You want something heavy to get down to the bottom, and you want to make it act erratic. So we have all of our sonars off, all thousands and thousands of dollars worth of them. But I did use my Navionics app, and I'll pull up where we are right now. We're on a sandbar or a flat, and behind us is deep water. That's my buddy Seth, and we're gonna be jigging these spoons and maybe doing some drifting and jigging at the same time. Right now we're spot locked. So we're just gonna snap it right to bottom, drop it right to bottom. We want our line to go slack, right to bottom, and we're should be around 30 feet of water or so. And we're on bottom. We're using medium to medium light fast action bass rods. And we're just gonna jig. And so I'm gonna spin you so you see my rod tip because I don't have the camera out right now. So line slack there, see how it's bouncing in the wind? We wanna lift up, so that's our tight line. Snap, hits bottom, snap, hits bottom, snap. So this is where that jigging term comes from that I don't teach normally because we do the runaway technique with sonar. But we're gonna blind jig. I also have the ability to drift with the trolling motor. I'm not gonna do that. But I am gonna turn it off. And we're gonna drag ourselves back here, basically float back with the wind until we reach the end of this feeding flat. We're at about 30 feet of water. And I might have to switch sides if we turn broadside on his side or my side. You want to use as heavy as a flutter jig as possible. So I do 1 ounce, 3/4, and 1/2 ounce. He's got 1 ounce, I got 3/4. Yep, I'm gonna have to switch to his side. And just kind of keep letting line out to a certain point here, and you kind of scoped out. And it has to hit bottom. Every once in a while, what you can do is reel it up fast, kind of at a constant speed. These are 2500 size reels, and kind of drop it back down underneath the boat just to get reset your vertical. And you want to kind of snap it back at the angle that it's drifting at. So we have, would you say this is 10-15 mile an hour winds, probably 10. So we're cruising pretty fast here. And I can check on my Navionics app on my phone or whatever map you use for contours for your lake and see where you are. And if you end up using a jig a bunch of times, like the 1 ounce one, you can tell, oh, that was a 3-second drop, that's 30 feet. I'm not gonna tell you the exact number, it depends if it falls perpendicular to the lake. Reset. And so we could have fish chasing us on that return. You'll never know, blind jigging. And I don't expect a ton of numbers doing this. As I expect, 1 an hour maybe. Yeah, we're still in about 30 feet of water. Just by, repetitive dropping in that depth. The other thing we can do is kind of just let it scope out really far, let it get really far away from the boat, and just kind of do what he's doing, is just snapping it back. But we want to try to hit bottom almost every time we jig. You're tip wrapped. And on the jig coming up, so bottom jig coming up, I locked the rod right, oh, I just got hit right here on my elbow. And if you do just feel like you just got hit, start a fake chase or a real chase. Nope, nobody home. Almost off the sandbar here. So we might have to restart our drift. Another good lure for this is blade baits, because they're making a vibrating noise or a lipless crank if you can get one that's heavy enough. The edge is right behind us. Got it. Finally. And he's pissed. Yeah. It's completely buried by stuff. Scoop 'em, Seth. Thank you. There we go, bottom tapping. Blind jigging. We are back spot lock because the wind is just way too fast to drift fish. So according to my Navionics, we're like right. You going? No, I followed. Oh, we're right on the edge here, right on the very edge of the sandbar. And so they tend to come up from the deep water, cruise around the sandbar, and I call it a sandbar. It's more like a feeding flat. Doesn't matter if it's made out of sand or silt. And these flat areas, Lakers are just cruising. There's no structure except for bait. And so if they see something on one of those areas, they just kill it immediately because they can't pin it anywhere. They can't pin it on the side of a hump or the shoreline. They have to get it immediately. So they're pretty aggressive on these feeding flats. Another quick tip is keep your rod tip as close to the water surface as possible so you can set the hook. And so there's two other ways. So drifting is a little too fast for us today. We could also anchor, but I don't have an anchor in this boat with a 70-foot anchor rope. And we'd be swinging, but the goal is just to stay as vertical as you can with your line. You can see that I use high vis Power Pro, the yellow, so you can see where if your line's scoping in and out. The other thing you can do if I wasn't with my buddy here is I'd be back trolling. If I didn't have a trolling motor on the front, I would spin the boat in reverse into the wind. It's a lot easier with a tiller or somebody else doing it with you. And I'd be backing up into the wind, pulling it in and out of reverse to keep the boat still, basically, making my own spot lock. And so these and just like any other ones will get fouled. Just bring them up, or you can kind of like snap it a couple times. Sometimes they'll come unfouled. Nothing I can do about it. You can put a single Siwash hook on there. It helps a little bit, but the hookup ratio definitely goes down. And if you want to cover more water, and this is something that I was doing this morning and then on Thursday, since today's Saturday, I was doing with clients. So we're on this big feeding flat. We were using Sonar. I can see a cast about 90 to 100 feet. I will take a spoon, even with no hooks on it, one of these spoons that are heavy, and bomb it out there to where I can see fish, and I'll actually lure them into the boat, and then my clients can jig them up. That also works. Sometimes I won't take the hooks off and I'll catch them on the retrieve, but I try not to, when I'm guiding at least. Cast it out there, let it sink to bottom. So give it a couple of seconds. Right there. Get your line tight. It's better if you're casting away from the wind, so casting off my stern. Then you have more feel, because right now the wind is putting a big bow in my line. And you can kind of hop it back like this. Let it hit bottom, snap it, reel, snap it, reel. And I get this other question asked a bunch. I have money to put into my boat. Do I put money into a Sonar, or do I put money into a trolling motor? And my answer is always going to be, now that I've done a bunch of this, is into a spot lock trolling motor so you can stay vertical. Because if you can't stay vertical, and lowering an anchor down 100 feet is such a pain. You can get away with a really cheap $100 Sonar or $200 Sonar, but you got to have that spot lock. Freaking wind is relentless. It was, yeah. It
wouldn't take you long to blow across the lake.
Got one. Or a stick or something. Oh, no, it's a Laker. Just a little guy. No net, I got it. I net myself. I really don't want him in the net, but. Oh, the wind's blowing the freaking net around. Just a little guy going right back in. I'm getting tired, Seth. You get the heavier one too. It's worth it. Nice. Oh. Seth just hooked up. Of course, I just moved the camera, but he lost it. Dang it, Seth. And you can see the screens literally aren't. We're literally looking out of the back of the boat. Just two dudes jigging in a boat. Now they will hit it on the fall, especially if you're in deeper water. Right now we're only in 30. It's hard to determine if they're hitting it. Like if you're dropping it down to after like a false chase and it stops early, just reel as fast as you can and try to set the hook. Usually it's way in their mouth because they've T-boned it on the way down, but I try to use as heavy as a flutter jig or heavy spoon as you can get away with. The other thing that I like to use is Castmasters. The heavier the better. Just upgrade their hooks. Their hooks in their smaller weight Castmasters are kind of junky. The heavier ones, like 1 ounce and up, I think are a lot better if you can't get my stuff in time for a trip. I never leave home without these things. They've saved the day multiple times when just swim baits just don't work sometimes. Ooh! I'm like, that feels weird. That's a Laker. We'll spend a few more minutes doing this and then we'll go. We've caught a lot of fish here already, so that could be why we're not hooking up. But we've caught 2. He hooked 1. I missed another one, so that would have been 4 if we landed them all.
Got him. God damn it. Trying to eat.
Seth hooked up. Bring him over here in front of the camera.
Well, for what? I'm trying to
Eating his Pringles.
I'm trying to eat. Fish gets in the way.
Giant! Giant!
He's
He's big. Don't break my rods. Yeah! And then they do that. Show the camera. I'm gonna hold him, kiss him.
No.
Come back in. So when I'm shallow with clients, probably under 50 feet where I can't clearly see both jigs on one sonar, this is what I'll have them do. I'll have one person that I ask them as soon as they get in the boat, who wants to jig their rod, their hand most of the day. We'll switch it up eventually, but whoever says yes gets one of these flutter jigs or some sort of Castmaster spoon. And they blind jig, and it lures in fish. I have them cast as well, and then I point to, one person basically sits with the screen and the sonar, and they do the wait and run technique with swim baits. And, we've did 20 plus fish this morning doing that technique, 24 plus fish on Thursday. Very successful in the same spot. We haven't moved basically 3 trips, so. Been productive. It's been a cold spring. We had snow this morning in most parts of our state. In New Hampshire.